All right, we're looking into the depth of the emotional system and how it works. I think if we're going to do a myth kind of buster thing going on here, I'd say that we generally think that emotions are very changing. Like at any moment, they can change in any way, and they're very finicky and they're disruptive. And I know nowadays we're thinking they're a little bit more important than we used to, but this is still the connotation associated with them. However, emotions are very long lasting, actually. Yeah, this is the truth. I mean, if we take a nonchalant situation and we charge it with emotion, let's say um, I didn't get the present I wanted at Christmas, and I thought my parents should know that I needed that present, and they should know how much I care about it, and they didn't care, and they didn't respond to my needs. Therefore, I remember this same incident from when I was 7 till I was 47. That's a pretty consistent emotion. Why is it so consistent? I think. Is that the right response to such a situation? I would say that it is in itself a half answer, meaning that yes, it did happen, for sure. Yes, we did feel that way, for sure. Yes, we still feel that way, for sure. But are we asking the question of why? Why do we feel that way still after so much time? I think this is the deeper question. Is it just because we were deeply wounded and hurt from that situation? We would think so. We'd think that would be the situation. But as we know, the body itself is always tuned to preserving and increasing health of the individual, therefore sustaining life. Uh, we would say that there's probably a little bit more to it. And did we see the full picture as a child? No. In adulthood, should we see a bigger picture? Probably. Do we? Not always. So then the question goes, how do we dig deeper into that? In fact, I think the brain at this point is trying to point out the immediacy of finding the real solution to this problem, therefore not letting go of it. We'd say often when you do something correctly, you don't really remember that you did it well or what sequence you actually did it in because it had the desired outcome, therefore not taking away from the health of the individual, therefore not being a priority in the emotional mind, if you will. So we'd say, a quicker example, my favorite example that I give all the time, you probably heard before. You learn how to tie your shoes, therefore you always know how to tie your shoes. It's not something you really reflect on and wake up in the morning writing down notes on how to do it once you've already achieved it, because it has our preservation of life, being capable human being. That's the emotion we attach to it, is all human beings should be able to tie their shoes at the age of such and such. So therefore, the emotional significance is satisfied for that challenge and therefore doesn't have a strong beacon of attachment to it. Emotional charges, I'd call it. Knowing this, then we'd say that anyone in a situation where emotions are held for a prolonged period of time without its resolution should look into what the emotions are trying to symbolize by this large energetic um, attachment of energy to a specific scenario. We'd say that. So, am I contradicting my point where I say that emotions last a very long time? And I'm telling you right now that they don't last very long. I'd say it would seem so. But ultimately, the system of emotion is still regulating what is happening here. It is not really forgotten. It is just in the right balance, therefore, doesn't need additional attention. So when something is supporting of health, it kind of fades into, we call it the background, the subconscious, where all things are as it should be in this sense. So although we are still living life, it has its impact. This impact, when emotions are, let's say, appropriately assigned and processed, yeah, is more of our baseline of health moving up. And we're not really aware of it until we contrast maybe where we used to be. And then we're like, hey, you know what? I'm not where I used to be. I'm actually feeling better, more, whatever. I'm closer to this goal or that goal that are very important to me. And the baseline has moved. But we would not see it in the general way that we try to contrast health, which is in the performance aspect of what have I achieved now. So this is the peak of achievement, not the base moving up. And therefore, our way of showing our self-health is a little bit off than probably what it should be. And we really want to take a strong contrast look at that, especially when we're dealing with the emotional health system. We'd say it's almost reversed. And in the next video, I'll talk about why is it reversed.